Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, we're gonna have a fun and exciting video for you guys today, because it's something I've been talking about in the comments and thinking about for maybe like the last 8 months or so. You might not realize, but I want you to know you are living in a new golden era of retro gaming developments. From decomps, recomps, and PC ports to emulation, fan translation, ROM hacks, and everything in between. We've never had it as good as we've had it in 2025, and 2026 is shaping up to be the exact same year. And honestly, this is exciting because this kind of feels like the original emulation wave back in the day, where all of a sudden emulators were appearing and we were doing things with games you've never seen before. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But let's kick it off with all the different decomps, recomps, and PC ports we've been talking about on the channel recently, and all of the ones that are in active development. Because even though decomps, recomps, and PC ports have been happening for some years, it's never been as fast and furious, pun very much intended for the drift right here, as it has been in 2025 and moving into 2026. There are so many different recomps and PC ports you can play today, and there's so many decomps in active development. And even though decomp isn't automatically guaranteed it's going to come over to PC, more often than not that's exactly what we get. And this basically feels like, to me, the continuation of software emulation. No, it isn't emulation whatsoever, but at a certain point in time when all these emulators came to the market, we were able to play them. It felt like a brand new way to play games we knew, loved, and enjoyed from back in the day. This is exactly the same feeling. Decomps, recomps, and PC ports allow you, at least in the recomp and PC port side of things, to experience games better than they ever were before, because nostalgia is a powerful drug, and honestly, we remember games looking and playing a lot better than they used to, unless we've played them recently. So these are kind of the experiences that we think we had back on PlayStation 2, N64, even Xbox 360, but honestly they are improved. And stuff like Jet Set Radio Future getting an active decomp, I would love to see a PC port of this game, because when I did a video on this one, absolutely everyone just lost their minds in the comments because they were that excited. And honestly, it's about the same level of excitement as when these games were initially announced and then released back in the day. We're reliving basically the launch of something like the Xbox with something like Jet Set Radio Future, except we're doing it in 2025 and 2026. And even games like Dinosaur Planet on N64, games that never actually released in their original format, are now playable as recomps on the PC. This is just keeping gaming alive, it's keeping the fun alive, and I am 100% there for it. And that really is the thing. Every single thing we talk about in retro gaming is just so we can enjoy things that we love into the future, and we can enjoy them in new and very exciting ways. And trust me, I'm sure in 2026 you're going to see at least one game that everyone has been begging to get ported to PC, and soon. It is just one of those things. There's so many developers and fans out there working on all of these projects. It is going to absolutely blow up in 2026, and I'm sure by 2030 you're going to be playing hundreds of different recomps and PC ports of games out there. Take me at my word for it, it's going to be a very exciting future indeed. Now that we've talked about recomps and PC ports, let's pop back over to software emulation, because I don't want anyone to think that it is not absolutely just killing it in like the last 18 to 24 months. There's been so many amazing updates to so many amazing emulators. There really isn't a system out there that we can't emulate these days. Sure, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 emulation are still in development, not every single game would work, but we've been absolutely treated in like the last 12 to 18 months to some amazing emulation improvements. The entirety of Sega Model 2 working in MAME, that's something that's been a long time coming, and a ton of people have been excited for it. And when I say emulation is blowing up, I mean it. Whether it's on the console side, the arcade side, handheld side, or in between, we just keep getting amazing new updates to basically every emulator out there. We're also getting new emulators developed as well, and that is absolutely fun, because there's games that you can just absolutely make look that much better. Something like Cruising here on the N64 with the Rosalie's Moop GUI absolutely looks like the arcade release. This is how we remember N64 looking, but trust me, it definitely didn't run this well, and it definitely had a lot more of a Vaseline look to it. So it basically still just allows you to enjoy the games you love, just in a better way. Or something like a brand new Sega Saturn emulator that's basically speedrunning itself to completion. This popped up about 6 months ago and ran 6 games. Now it basically runs almost 100% of the Sega Saturn library. I have never seen an emulator develop itself that fast, and absolutely this must be some sort of record, even if people don't keep those records. But it just goes to show how good emulation has been and how good it's going to be in the future. Or Gear Graphics, a new PC engine and TurboGrafx emulator. Again, you pick a platform out there, there's at least one emulator that's going to work with basically the entirety of the library, again outside of PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and in 5-10 years you're going to be playing the entirety of those libraries as well, with enhancements and near perfect emulation. Software emulation is never going anywhere, even if we have other means to play the games, and I am glad for that. Everything needs to be preserved and made playable in the future, as I said in previous videos. I know it sounds crazy, but in 25, 30, 40 years, stuff like a PlayStation 3, a lot of them are going to be dead, and they aren't going to be cheap, and honestly stuff like Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, by the time our kids, even though I don't have any, are having kids of their own, a lot of this hardware could be absolutely dead. So software emulation is going to keep these libraries and the history of gaming alive long after all the original hardware just goes to hell. Where something like DOSBox Pure allows you to play basically any DOS or PC game you want from that golden era on your modern PC without having to keep retro hardware around, and that is something I love, collecting retro PCs, but a lot of people just don't have the space. Or something like Dolphin that got a lot of updates in the last year is absolutely stunning and making some of my favorite games run and play that much better. It just makes it easier to sit down and enjoy things. You think less about actually getting your hardware out and setting up the proper cable or keeping around a CRT, and you spend more time actually having fun, and that is absolutely important, and I think again we're in a golden era for that as well. But outside of software emulation, of course, we have different FPGA boards with different FPGA cores, keeping the dream of retro gaming alive in a different manner. And not to debate the software emulation versus FPGA argument again, both are amazing, both have their place, and I use both all of the time, both in the channel as well as in my general gaming purpose life. And it is one of those things. FPGA cores do not do the same thing as software emulation, and it really isn't worth debating, but the reality is it's great to have these options. Whether you want something like Analog 3D to put your original cartridges in, or any of the other analog hardware where you can use those original cards, that's going to exist, and it does keep the hardware alive, because again, I said, it's not all going to last forever. Or even stuff like MiSTer FPGA with Taki Udon and Retro Remake Superstation 1. We're going to have a console very soon. It is trickling out in shipping that allows for playing PlayStation 1 disc on MiSTer FPGA's core, and honestly, getting that original media working is going to be a ton of fun. Hardware recreation, whether it's in a plastic case or an FPGA core, is going to be amazing moving forward, because this works in conjunction with software emulation just to allow more people to actually be able to enjoy these games. And again, not everyone wants to go out there and collect retro hardware, and not everyone wants to run an emulator on a PC next to their television. People might want to do something like buy a Superstation 1 or a MiSTer FPGA just to put it next to their TV, select the games they want with a wireless controller, and just move on and enjoy games. And there's so many different companies making these things. You have Heber in the UK making the multi-system too. You have Taki Udon Retro Remake making their systems in China. You have people like MiSTer Add-ons, Porkchop Express doing custom builds, JAMA MiSTers, as well as pre-builds in the US. You really have a source for all of this stuff, and it's only going to get better because FPGAs are going to get more powerful and they're going to get cheaper. So I am sure in 5, 10, 15 years from now, you're still going to be using FPGA devices to play newer cores. And that is exciting because again, this is keeping hardware alive, even if that hardware is programmed to an FPGA board and logic and not the original console. Let's talk about fan games, improvements to PC ports, ROM hacks, and translations, because honestly, a lot of what we're playing in retro these days was definitely not something that actually released back in the day, but is a ROM hack or translation made by fans. And honestly, fans really don't just keep the dream alive, they expand it with so many fun new things. There's so many things on the horizon that people know about. There's a couple things coming soon that I've basically been sworn to secrecy on, but you're definitely going to be excited about. And I just love how many new experiences there are to have in retro. There's so many different ROM hacks out there that basically reinvent the wheel in such a fun way, and so many translations have come out recently. You can play so many more games than you ever could before, and I'm not saying that ROM hacks and translations haven't been a thing for like the last 15-20 years. They absolutely have, but you're just seeing more and more come out all the time because it's becoming more and more popular with different people to work on these things because they have nostalgia for the hardware and the games, and they think to themselves, I have an idea, let's do that and see if people like it. And honestly, every single time everyone seems to love it. or something like Mighty Final Fight Forever, a quasi-remake, quasi-reimagining of Mighty Final Fight on the NES for PC, takes the entirety of the original game, redoes absolutely everything, and makes it feel both modern and retro at the same time, and it absolutely nails it 100% of the time in doing so. Or even if I can toot my own horn, and only for a brief moment, I've been working with developers to make sure we can port 3DO M2 arcade games over to the home console, basically the FC35, and that just isn't important to get them off the arcade boards. It also gleans different information because, trust me, there will be a 3DO M2 FPGA core at some point in time, because I am determined through any means necessary to release a console that never released even an FPGA. And speaking of consoles that never released, we even have hardware recreations now of systems that never actually saw retail shelves. Kosam the Great is working on making the Super Nintendo CD and recreating hardware. He also did the same thing with the Sega Neptune, a combination 32X and Sega Genesis, which I showed off on the channel. You can find if you search my playlist. I love the fact that we're in the era, we don't just make FPGA cores, we don't just decomp, recomp, and PC port games. We actually go around and recreate hardware that never truly existed so people can experience it for the first time. And this, at least for me personally, is the most mind-blowing stuff that is currently going on. And like I said, this is the golden era. You just don't really realize you're in it. There's just so much fun to be had, and there's so much more fun on the horizon. Honestly, the only thing that we don't have is more time to enjoy all of this, because if you played every single amazing ROM hack and translation that came out, every single amazing FPGA core that came out, or every single amazing recomp or PC port of a game that came out, you would have no time left whatsoever to work, to sleep, to eat. Your entire job would just be playing video games. And trust me, that sounds fun, but when you play them as much as I do for the channel, sometimes it definitely can feel like work. But at the same time, I get absolutely excited to talk about a lot of this stuff, because whether it's a brand new Sega Saturn game release that no one noticed, or any of the other things we've talked about in this video, there is just so much fun to be had in retro these days. And honestly, compared to a lot of the modern games that I play, retro is doing better. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still an advocate for modern gaming, and I still buy new releases and enjoy them, but I would just say it's not hitting the same as some of this other fun we've been having. But leave me a comment down below and you tell me, of all the stuff that's happened in the last 12 to 18 months, which one has been your favorite? Is it the FPGA cores? Is it the recomps and ports? Is it the fan games? Or is it something else? But we're done. Enjoy the golden era, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.